What's up, guys? Welcome back to Roensch Capital Charts. Today we're taking a look at Digital World Acquisition Corp, ticker symbol DWAC, on a variety of time frames in anticipation of the next trading day, Thursday, February 15th. Well, DWAC stock here today up $2.23 a share, 5.4%, relatively flat here in the after hours, up about 5 cents. Listen, as always, after hours is very low volume. Take it with a grain of salt, whether it's in your favor or against your bias. Let's start with DWAC here by taking a look at the 1 minute chart here, the intraday movement, to see if there was any intraday opportunity that was obvious. If we zoom in here, hey, by the way, if you guys get value out of these videos, you guys appreciate me covering DWAC and you'd like to see me do so in the future, first of all, leave a comment, let me know that DWAC is a favorite of yours. Also, you know, I appreciate you subscribing to the channel. Our goal is 1,000 in the next 10 days or so. I think we can hit that with your help. But taking a look here at the 1 minute intraday, you know, zooming in, for me right now, until we see a little bit more volume pouring into Digital World, for me it's just a little bit choppy. There's just not quite enough volume here to help us build some revenue around a core position in DWAC. It's just a little choppy. For me, I think this one has to be looked at from a little bit more zoomed out perspective, just because you're getting these these choppy, very, very low volume 1 minute bars. But I mean, listen, that's okay. Generating revenue intraday is a completely different story from the big picture. So let's move on, why don't we, okay? Take a look at the 5 minute chart. What I want to do here is take a look at the volume, see if there's any clear changes in volume that correlate with obvious moves in the stock that can help us better understand the sentiment of the bigger sample size market opinion. So looking here at the biggest intraday moves, we have this up move here, kind of early off the open, right? We have this little fade, and then we have this midday pump. So let's see if we can pull any information from the volume. Now, this is obvious, right? We expect huge volume off the open, all right? We did see a little bit of increasing volume on that morning pump, but not necessarily substantially so. But we did see some increasing volume on this move here, and then a couple of stray high volume candles over here. Listen, again, each 5 minute bar the volume is a smaller sample size. That's the nature of a stock like DWAC. There's advantages here, and it comes with some disadvantages. Some disadvantages is that the data can get thrown off by big buyers, big sellers. And here on the 5 minute, I'm gonna have to call this a neutral chart. It would be a force to sit here and try to, you know, make something up that I think I see. I don't want to go down that road. So let's move on here. Let's start getting really contextual with the self-fulfilling prophecy psychological levels to watch tomorrow here on DWAC. You can see here, really interestingly so, we're right in between a channel. That channel is the 50 period moving average on the 30 minute, that white line, and the 200 period moving average, that gray line here. Now, here's what I'm looking for specifically on the 30 minute chart if I'm a bull looking at this here tomorrow. Remember, we have to look at a variety of time frames, but in order to get the most context, to get a full picture view, we're looking at multiple time frames, but this is specific to the 30 minute, okay? Take a look here. We're currently about 2.45% away, 2.5% away from that 50 period to the downside. And to the upside, we're about 3.4%, 3.35 away from making a test of that 200 period, which is currently sitting right around 45 bucks a share. So if I'm a bull here looking at this tomorrow, if we see a downside test of the 50 period on the 30 minute chart, gonna want to see that hold. Gonna want to see that hold strong. And ideally, if I'm a bull, I want to see that upside, you know, resistance level of this potential channel that we could be seeing forming of that 200 period moving average. I'd ideally like to see that break and hold. Yeah, it's a 3 and some change % move away, but that's really what I'm after here if I'm a bull. If I'm a bear, really simple. That 200 period, if we see a test, reject it hard, and the priority number 1, look for a downside break to the downside through that 50 period, that white line here on the 30 minute, okay? Let's move on now to the 4 hour and take a look. You can see here on the 4 hour, that white line, that 50 period is very much so in play on this chart. I mean, we're basically right on top of the thing. So here's what I'm looking for. You know, not quite, of course. It's at about 44.15, 44.20-ish. Stock currently is at about 43.60. Okay. Here's what I'm looking for. If I'm a bull, priority number one on the 4-hour chart, break and hold above that 50-period moving average. Hold it as support. Looks to get up through 45 bucks a share. If I'm a bear, even more simple. Reject as hard as possible away from that 50-period moving average here on the 4-hour. All right. Let's move on to arguably the most important chart of all. That's going to be the daily chart. Okay. You can see here, 50-day, 200-day, not immediately relevant. That 50 days is the closest, and it's right about 27 bucks a share. We're at 43.60. You know, that's one of the disadvantages of having a big upside move is those psychological areas of potential support, those moving averages on the daily chart, you know, they take their time getting up there. That's okay, though. That's expected. So here's what I'm watching. Big macro psychological levels. Listen, I want to see DWAC get back above 45 bucks a share, because really the ultimate goal here is 50 bucks a share. Okay? But one day at a time. Small steps to the moon. Okay? 45 bucks a share is what I have my eye on. If I'm a bull, reclaim that and hold it, and I'm thrilled. All right? Bearish perspective, my eye's on 40. Similar to 50, my eye's on 40. Reject off 45 ideally. You know, get down toward 40 bucks. All right, make a new recent low, crack 40 to the downside is what I'm thinking if I'm a bear. Okay? Let's take a look and see if we can pull anything out of the options chain as far as bias here today. Okay? Obviously Wednesday heading into Thursday. So here in the chain, understand that on a stock like DWAC, it's a little bit more niche as of right now, okay? So it's going to be lower volume. We have 26,600 total contracts traded. That's a relatively small sample size compared to what we've been, you know, what we see on some other tickers here today. Obviously, you know, if you look at SPY, you can get upwards of 10 million, but different ball game, okay? We have to stay contextual here. Just understand that the smaller the volume, the lower the volume, the more of a grain of salt you should take the options data, right? The bias that you can pull from the chain. We still need to look at it. It's still relevant because it's still the traders making an assessment of the stock. But look here, massive, massive bias in the chain today. 22,700 calls, 3,900 puts. Massive bias to the call side. Again, lower volume, take it with a grain of salt, but big bias. The short-term speculators, 0 to 20 delta range, 7,100 calls, 1,400 puts. Look at this. This is what I find almost the most interesting here. The deep in the money, 81 to 100 delta range, 9,000 calls, 93 puts. We're getting some pretty heavy bullish bias on every front today. Overall, short-term, mid-term, and long-term. Again, risk management around here is always number one. Make sure your risk is managed. Staying in the game is ultimately the secret here. Allows you to gain the experience necessary. Also, listen, I mean, take it with a grain of salt. The volume is low, but that's what the option traders are telling us here today on DWAC stock. Listen, if you got value out of this video, before you head out, appreciate you just leaving a quick thumbs up. It's easy, it's free, and it helps out tremendously. You have no idea. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.